So let's talk a little bit about public safety. I think you've mentioned it a couple of times. And it can be a broad answer from crime through pedestrian safety, as broad as you want to make it. Talk to me about how you see addressing those issues and how you think we as a group, in collaboration with the city manager and her team, can make that change occur.
I think that working together and deciding or bringing in more police officers and awareness to all the traffic that's going on in our city and the kids on bicycles. I think all those issues need to be addressed in order to keep our pedestrians and our residents safe.
I want to switch gears on you. I think at the very beginning, someone asked about hundreds of millions of dollars of unfunded exposure, shall we say, for the city. I'd like to tackle it from the side of economic development, businesses that we bring here, how we increase our tax base and tax revenues. Or we could even go into other areas like fundraising through bonds and specialty taxes. I don't really care which way you take it, but talk about how we get more money into this city and ultimately into the city coffers so that we can address those concerns.
Okay, I wrote down a couple of things that I thought of. I thought of bringing life science to campuses, biotech firms, create tourism in San Leandro, build hotels to increase tax fare, supporting our general funding, and work with nonprofits that support the needs of San Leandro.
Okay, so I'm going to run with a third question then to explore a little bit about the possibility of bond funding or a tax of some type. And trying to be very general so that you can tell me what your ideas might be with respect to a bond that we might present to the public for their potential approval, or a tax that we might.
So you're asking that.
What are your thoughts on what we might be able to do for that part of it? So you've talked about the economic development piece, but tell me a little bit more about this other piece.
To be honest with you, I wouldn't know how. I'd have to collaborate with all the council members and learn more about that.
I'd like to go to public safety. I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, and so I want to dig in. So talk to me about how we're going to make this happen, because it sounds like you're into this. So you've got 2 minutes to just like brainstorm with me. Give me everything you got on public safety.
Sure. Also not a public safety expert, but I do have an opinion on what it feels like to be in an area where I feel I can walk around and I'm not really super worried about my kid. I'm not worried about tripping over something because it's so dark or something happening. And I also think when places are well lit and there are more people out, it also tends to feel a little bit safer because there's just more happening. So if you're asking specifically what are some of the things I would do, not knowing what the light bill would be like, I would definitely increase the lighting. Just going to the grocery store does not feel safe for us right now. And I should feel safe. I'm with a 6'5" person, but it's so dark and dim that I do get concerned and worried. And then I think about people who, really are worried about their own safety. So lighting would be like a really big thing everywhere. I think everything should be well lit. Also with safety, I'm a big believer in community policing strategies. And I would really like to get to know if there's an officer in my neighborhood. I don't know them yet, and we've been there for almost 10 years. We do hear sirens sometimes, and there's something happening, and there's a chopper overhead, so sometimes that happens. But I would really like to get to know the officers who are in my neighborhood. I would like my daughter to know who these people are, and I'd like her to know that they are here to make her feel safe. They're not here for any other reason.
Thank you.
So I think that's important.
Thank you. So I'd like to pivot to a second question.
Okay.
Let's focus on economic development. And I really want to focus on the angle of revenue generation for the city. So sales tax revenue, any kind of revenue that comes out of increased economic activity. Or you can take it in a different direction and just talk about some kind of tax or a bond or something that you want to pass, because we've talked about hundreds of millions of dollars of need. I want to get to how are we going to get that money? And brainstorm with me on that.
Sure. Well, I believe in taxes. I think that's how we can afford to have certain things that we need. I'm trying to think, few smoke shops have opened recently, and so I'm not really sure. They're great, and everyone needs, different things. I think it would be that might be an area I would check out and see, if can we pull some additional revenue from that. Also, I know that CBD is big and it's been legalized in some areas. I think that could also be a tax base if I don't know if the city even has businesses that are selling those products, but it could probably mean a lot in tax revenue. And I think if it's done responsibly, it could be used to fund all the lighting that I would like to see in the city and other things.
I'd like to spend a little bit of time digging into public safety.
Yep.
You've mentioned it, and just really want to brainstorm some strategies. I want to know the how. How are we going to make our city safer? What can you be doing to help us achieve that goal?
So, so to create a safer community, I think we need to provide opportunity and foster our sense of belonging to the city. I also believe that residents and visitors need to feel safe in their homes. So in terms of priorities, there's 4. One is a fully staffed, responsive, and culturally appropriate, but also visible police force so that folks feel safe when they're walking around. Understand that there are levels of harm that have been done, that some folks may not feel that, but having them in a way that is culturally appropriate in the spaces that they are is one. Continue to strengthen the community police board. I'd also like to add that data transparency is important. I know that the police department is short-staffed and there's issues there in terms of staffing, but I was unable to find the most recent crime data. And I think that transparency in what is happening might change some of the perceptions that people have about what's happening, right? Because I think, I've heard Governor Newsom say that we don't live our life in the aggregate, and that behind, even if crime may be trending down, there's still crime happening to someone, and they don't feel safe. And so, really having that data available to the public would be useful. And folks continue to talk about traffic safety, pedestrian safety, and speeding in residential neighborhoods. That continues to kind of elevate past the crime and feeling safety.
So I'd like to move to my second question. It's really focused in whatever you want to take it, economic development or taxes, because I really care about the 300 million, I think that Councilmember Aguilar talked about. Because it's one thing to talk about how we spend the money. It's another thing to talk about how we get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether it's economic development or taxes or bonds or, helicopter from the sky, I don't really care how.
Got it.
I want you to brainstorm with me about the how.
Yeah. So one of the ideas that I was, in bringing my higher education perspective is San Leandro is uniquely situated in the Bay Area. We have 2 freeways, 2 BART stations. We have the ocean and we have the hills, and we have, this amazing combination of ingredients. And one thing that I thought might, in looking some of the Caltrans data, we have thousands of people that travel through our freeways. So I think bringing in an extension campus, a higher education extension campus, San Leandro already does this through their apprenticeship programs. There's a lot of apprenticeship programs that are based in San Leandro where we have people who are coming here to get an education. But if we brought an extension campus here, near one of the BART stations, there's Bayfair that's going, we're planning for that long term. There's downtown, there's a lot of amazing office space there that I think we can leverage to bring an extension campus and really solidify San Leandro as a place where adult learners come and reskill themselves, but also where they come and spend time and they find out about all the amazing things that we're doing here. They'll walk downtown and spend money in the restaurants and and also enjoy the library if they need to do some of their homework. So that's one idea that I'd like to elevate.
And apologies again, Councilmember Acevedo. So I do want to talk about public safety and do a little bit of brainstorming with you. I want to talk about strategies, techniques, tactics, methods, whatever term you want to use. Like, how do we address the public safety challenge as broadly as you want to define public safety and as broadly as you want to define tactics, techniques, methods? I just want to know about the how.
Okay. So again, we've got to make sure we get our police department straightened out and get all the police positions filled. We also have to listen to the public. And again, it's a team effort. When you say, how can you do this? Or how can I could be the catalyst to bring us together. We identify the problem, which is public safety, whether it's a crossing guard in front of a school or whether somebody escorting someone to their car, a teacher or a parent or whatever, then we can all work together on making that happen. I can be the catalyst for that because I'm retired. I have the time. Once we identify, David's going to work with the seniors, David's going to work with the public safety issues, then I would spearhead that. Then I would come to my council members and say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? Because one individual is not going to make it happen. And I just have to keep reiterating that. It's going to take more than just one person to make it happen. You identify the problem or the issue, the city manager, say, this is what we want to try to help. Can you help us, David? Sure, I'll go out and take a hand at it. Give it a hand. So once we identify those issues, which would be public safety in your case, Mayor, then we will work on solving the problems, whether it's at the schools, it's at our borders, it's in the neighborhoods. I would be willing to take that on because I would be the new person. So I have that little bit more time to identify those and go door to door and find out if this will work. When I was the president of Bella Vista, we talked about the speed bumps on Sybil. A lot of the parents or the residents in that area, they complain about the speed bumps, but none of them really want to come and speak in front of the city council because I think at that time they were afraid of you guys. And my message to them was, they're human beings just like you. They're only gonna give you 2 minutes. So take your 2 minutes and tell them you don't want speed bumps. They got them anyway because nobody came up here.
So what I'd like to do now is pivot to a new topic. And in
Mhm.
particular, we've heard about $300 million of capital improvement project needs, et cetera. I want to know about the how. How do we get the money to pay for this? Do we do it through economic development? And if so, how? Do we do it through taxes? Do we do it through bonds? I don't care. Just I want you to generate some ideas with us right now.
I would love to generate ideas with you, but we could ask for a grant from the state. We know the county doesn't have as much money as they have. The state doesn't either. They're looking at a deficit. But again, we have to do it together. Do we go to the private industry and try to get money to help us? Or do we, borrow the money ourselves through bond initiatives? So again, I would rely on our city manager and our attorney to say, this is what you guys can apply for. And then we will try to work it and make it happen. So again, it would be a team effort. I mean, my background is in construction. We go out and we get money. We get it from developers. We offer them incentives. And that's what we do. And it's the same thing with the state and the county. We need to say, look, we need this money and how can we get it? Just like Measure J for the schools.
Okay, so I'd like to kind of follow up. You've touched on some of this already. Public safety. I really want to spend 2 minutes brainstorming, digging down more into that public safety, because you've identified some strategies, increasing appreciation, noted that money doesn't equal results. But I want to dig more. So just this is your time to say whatever you can possibly come up with on public safety.
I reach back to being here over time. You get the police officer, you get familiar with police officers, you get to know them because you see them all the time. They're your neighbor, they're your friend, the person you see on the street. If you can get police officers to go out there and tell people their story, that why they should be here. And I'm not talking about, once again, I'm not talking about a social media thing. I'm not talking about a YouTube thing. I'm talking about going out to community groups, going out to different agencies, you know, so that you can snatch them from other cities, however you want to word that. I think that would be the way to do it. Now, I don't know if we have officers who have that experience here, but if you did, those are the people I think would convince others to come to San Leandro. So yeah, it's that personal in-face connection that will help.
Let's go to the 300 million. And there's other hundreds of millions, but let's just focus on we need money.
Mhm.
And you talked a little bit about bonds, and I want you to brainstorm with me. Let's go broader than just bonds. Talk about economic development. You can talk about specific taxes, but just run with it and tell me everything that you can tell me in the next couple of minutes.
That probably won't take very long. Other than bonds to fix something, you know, I'm thinking something else. If you can get, what do we call it? Improvement taxes. You get neighborhoods who have crummy streets, and I can figure out some of those neighborhoods. You tell those neighbors there that we don't have enough money to fix your street today. And if we did put it on a schedule, it might be 5 years before we get to your street. Would they be convinced to put money in somehow to create a community improvement district where they are to fix the street in front of them so that they lend money to the city to fix it now? And then when their term comes around, whether it's funded by a general bond or you know, their time comes up to get improvements, they'll get the money paid back. That might be a way to do it. Okay, I can only think of just neighborhoods that want to do, you know, because people do scream about what's in front of their house. And if you give them an option, they might be able to get people together to help you fix that, come up with the financing. I'm not sure what else there is you can do. I think if you ride a bike, you don't have to fix the roads, but that's just me. Am I back on this bicycle thing again? Is that the theme you're hearing from me? Good, because that's really the thing I'm trying to push right now. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what else I can come up with. That's the only idea that comes up to me right now is get the neighborhoods to maybe they'll do it.